Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Power of Coactive Coaching webinar.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Maybe throw in a chat where you're calling from, where you're signing in from, so we know.
We've got a rather intimate group today, which we kind of expected, given the U.S. holiday. Anybody calling in from the U.S., happy Thanksgiving to you.
Wow.
Anyone who celebrates.
We got everybody but the U.S. so far.
Oh, no, we got New York.
Oh, we got New York.
Got New York. There we go.
London, Zurich, Amsterdam. Wow. Singapore.
China, quite a global audience. Vancouver, welcome, welcome.
China, wow. We got really an international crowd here. Great.
We do. I love it. I love it.
Thank you for staying up or getting up in time for this, wherever you are in the world.
Yeah.
I'm not used
to a virtual background, so I'm sort of distracted by the fact that my head keeps disappearing, but that's okay. I'll get over it.
Yeah. Well, clearly we got a devoted coactive community here. This is fantastic.
Exactly. Yeah. We are, great question, Randy. I am in Toronto. No, I'm not in Toronto. You're in Toronto, Charles. I'm west of Toronto, Ontario.
Don't be taking credit for being in Toronto.
No, I'm not.
We're both calling from Canada. I'm calling just outside of Toronto, Canada.
Yep. And I'm a little further west, still in Ontario, Canada. So we're in the same time zone, same geographical area.
Same weather.
Yeah, same weather. Sometimes, not always. It snowed here 2 weeks ago and didn't snow for you guys. I don't know what that was about. Anyway,
we got a little climate dome over our city.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, welcome everybody. As you're arriving, just throw where you're calling from in the chat so we know where you're calling from today.
We want to make a distinction between the chat feature, which you're using right now, and the Q&A feature. As we go along, you may have questions that you'd like us to answer. Pop those in the Q&A so that they stay separate from whatever gets dropped in the chat, and that way we can keep track of them. Yeah.
Right.
Another thing you can drop in the chat is, what are you arriving with? Like, what are you feeling right now? Or in coactive language, what's here for you?
What are you excited about being here?
Yeah. What drew you here? Yeah.
Throw that in the chat.
Virginia, welcome, welcome. Fiorella. I will share that I enjoy doing these calls. I love dancing in the moment, both with colleagues and with volunteers. We have a volunteer coachee that will be with us in a little bit. Yeah.
Well, why don't we introduce ourselves for them so we know who Charles and Gail are?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, I'm Charles Suasing. I've been coaching now nearly 10 years. Like I said, I'm based out of Toronto. I've been certified with Coactive since 2017. 2018, and then I joined faculty in 2019, just at the cusp of the pandemic. I said, yeah. and been leading from the front ever since. So I'm really enjoying that trip. Being a part of this community has been a real life changer, a real game changer for me. I coach executive leaders. I coach emerging leaders. I coach people in transitions in different stages of their life. And I also run a number of men's groups as well too. So I use coactive in men's groups work as well, which I'm really passionate about.
Yeah. And am I right, Charles, that you sit on something with the ICF? Am I right about that?
Or yeah, I was on the board for the DEI initiative with ICF for a little while.
There we go.
Yeah,
wanted on that as well. Cool.
Yeah.
And I'm Gail Barker. there are parallels between my story, my bio, and Charles's, although also distinctions. So I have been in coactive land since 2002. That is when I did my core curriculum. And then, have been certified since 2004, and, all of that sort of thing. Took a long and winding road. And like Charles, where we dovetail, I too became front of room faculty for CTI just before the pandemic, like just when that all went down. So end of 2019, 2020. And then in addition to that, in addition to leading core curriculum for CTI, I also sit half-time on CTI's faculty development team, wearing a diversity, equity, and inclusion lens, not exclusively, but it's part of what I bring to the role. And outside of CTI, I too coach leaders and their teams. For me, it's all based on the idea that leadership can be an isolating gig. And so I want my leaders, my clients, to know that they can lead at the work that they love without sacrificing their lives on the altar of their leadership. And then in recent years, I have deliberately started to weave in diversity and equity and inclusion work into the leadership work that I do, because I firmly believe that you cannot lead in our world without wearing that lens. You just can't do it, not effectively, not meaningfully. So I weave that in as appropriate as well.
Yeah, great work, Gail. One of the areas that we find great alignment in is bringing diversity and inclusion and all that beautiful stuff into our work.
Exactly.
Really appreciate that.
Exactly.
Donna, why don't you throw up the slide there so we can give them context of what they can expect in the next hour with us? Because we got a full hour and a lot of cool stuff coming up.
And while Donna gets that going, there we go. I just want to acknowledge that, the world in which we find ourselves today can feel challenging for many people on so many levels. There's a lot happening, a lot of challenge, a lot of tension, a lot of, all sorts of stuff is going on in our world. And so I want to acknowledge that backdrop exists for all of us, conflict in the Middle East and conflict in Ukraine, and there's just a lot that is happening in the world. And so I don't want us to push over that without knowing that, that's here too, I imagine, for some people. And so I just want to name that. Yeah.
All right. So what you can expect today from Gail and myself is learning a bit more about what coaching is. I think by sounds of it, some of you have had some experience with coaching. Well, we're going to bring our definition of coaching alive for you. And we're going to bring in a tool that we use in coaching, and as an exploratory type of tool that we can use as a foundation for coaching. And
then I'm going to do a demo with a volunteer coachee, someone I have not yet met. So I'm looking forward to meeting them and dancing literally in the moment as we figure out where they want to head and how I might support them through coaching with this specific tool. My goal is to model several coaching skills throughout that. I don't yet know what they'll be, but we'll see what's required.
And then we're going to debrief our coaching. This is something that we do in all of our courses, by the way. When we have a coaching demo, we give our participants a chance, or like people like yourself watching, a chance to understand what happened, what skills were used, how were they used, and ask some questions about what occurred in the coaching and any other things regarding your coaching experience. If you're in the midst of doing your coactive training journey, or you're considering joining us as a new student, or you're on a waiting to certification, we will be happy to answer any questions about your coactive training journey.
And so then there we go. One of the things we do in coactive is we very consciously and deliberately design how we are going to be together. We call this our designed alliance, and that happens both between myself and Charles. We've done a little bit of that already beforehand, but we'll do a little bit more as we go along, and you'll see that. But we want to design with you as well, and a few things that we want to name right out of the gate is that although Charles and I are co-leading, there is absolutely nothing in this webinar that's scripted. We're literally bouncing off each other as we go.
and this is very coactive of us, is to
Yeah.
just be in the moment with each other and see just what comes up, what are we inspired to say or share. And you will also see in the demo you will see was also non-scripted. This would we have volunteers willing to be our client today, and that is totally going to be a natural, real coaching conversation.
Yeah. The other thing, and of course, most people just assume this, but we want to name transparently that confidentiality is a critical aspect of coaching. And in today's coaching, our volunteer coachee has agreed that this will not be held in confidence. This is not confidential because, again, we're coaching for everyone here, and this will be recorded and shared with our community. And our coachee is aware of that. So we want to transparently name that. Mm-hmm. Even though usually coaching is held with rigor when it comes to confidentiality.
Mm-hmm. And I touched on this a little bit, like our client is volunteering themselves to bring a real topic for them. And this is going to feel, and you're going to see it as a real coaching session with Gail's incredible expertise as a coach. Their topic is going to be real, right? And hopefully they get something transformative out of this experience too.
That's the goal at any rate.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so then, we're here, everyone is here wanting to witness coaching, coactive coaching in particular. And the question that often comes up is, well, what is coaching? How does it differ from other, what I call helping professions, consulting, therapy, what have you? And the International Coaching Federation has a great definition for coaching, which you can see on the screen, right? Coaching is partnering with individuals in a thought-provoking, creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I could take each of these words and dive into them because they all feel so important. We're not going to do that.
Yeah. For me, like coaching is like that is a coactive, creative process where the coach and the client are leaning in towards each other, empowering the client for what they want in their life. Mm-hmm. And how they want what they want to be fulfilled, satisfied, on purpose, feeling like they're creating meaning and impact wherever that is. Mm-hmm. But also understanding, okay, what are some of the challenges that might be in their way, and hopefully change the perspective of those things.
The key distinction for me, I don't know why, it's always been a powerful piece of the definition, is that of partnering, right? Mm-hmm. When I work with my clients, I partner with them. And, that model that you use there, Charles, of leaning in, right? It's like, and I think that's different from so many dynamics and helping professions that are out there, because inadvertently there can be a way that coachee or client wants to grant power to coach. And in true coaching, that's not what happens. I might have some expertise, I might have some wisdom, and my job is to hold that back and partner with my client, peppering in those pieces of wisdom or expertise if desired, but always in service of the client. And it has nothing to do with me at all, other than I'm here.
Yeah. Two things that come up for me about that is, one, in the coactive model is the cornerstone of we're all naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. That means all the things that we want in our life already exist within us. The coach is just an enabler to bring that out of our clients so they can see it for themselves, because they might not have seen it before. Right? What coaching isn't is giving them advice, is problem solving, is fixing. We're not fixing our clients. We're actually empowering them.
Such an important distinction. And I know when new participants enter the land of coactive, there's always this question, like, how do I stay out of the land of problem solving? Because inevitably when your client shows up, it can feel like they're wanting a solution. And my answer to that is that solutions will be found, and I will not be giving them. My client will find the solution. And I lean into a quote by Jim Patterson, who is a legend in the coactive space. I never had the good fortune to meet him or be with him, but his legacy lives on. And for me, it lives on in a powerful quote where he said, we do not coach for a problem to be solved. We coach for a life to be lived. And so for me, if I lean into that, It keeps me
Yeah.
right out of problem solving
There
mode.
you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So one of the tools we use, and this is one of many tools we use in coactive coaching, is the Wheel of Life. And what this contains are what we categorize are 8 sections or domains or aspects of a fulfilled life.
Mhm.
And this could represent all of your life, right? And we'll look at all of these aspects individually, and then we look them at collectively on how well you're living a complete and fulfilled life.
And so when we bring this tool out, what we ask our coachees to do is rate their level of satisfaction in any given wedge on a scale of 1 to 10. 1, which is the center of the wheel, means not at all satisfied. And 10 means highly satisfied, maybe even completely so. And a really important thing to note is that these wedges aren't about whether or not you have that in your life. So if we look at career, for example, and I ask my coachee to rate their level of satisfaction from 1 to 10, I'm always really clear. This isn't about whether or not you have a career, right? This is about how satisfied you are with it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's a 1? Do you feel like it's a 10? Doesn't matter what the world thinks. What do you think?
Yeah. Like another example would be family and friends. Maybe you don't have children. Well, you might be totally satisfied with the fact you don't have any children.
Yeah.
Right. So, again, it's not a matter whether you have children in your life or not, is whether or not you're satisfied with the choice or the current state of your life as of right now.
Yeah. The objective is to, in terms of if we use this as a visual, in terms of living a life, is to have a life wheel that is both round and full, right? And inevitably what happens, because it's a snapshot in time, is it's either not very round or not very full or a combination of both of those.
Right.
Yeah. And so then the question, go ahead, Charles.
Yeah. So I often use this as my first session into coaching, or what I call as a discovery session, and to get a sort of a lay of the land on how my client sees their life as a whole. And like Gail said, there might be areas that, the client didn't recognize that they're not actually satisfied with their health. They never actually thought about that, how satisfied or not satisfied with their health or personal growth or other areas. Well, those are areas for us to, let's dive into that and understand what that means. You're scoring yourself a 5, but what does 5 look like? How do you experience 5?
Yeah.
And what would a 7 look like if we were to work on it?
Yeah.
Or what would an 8 look like?
It just gives us as coaches some insight into what it is our coachees are coming to coaching with, right? What are they arriving here with? And again, it's a snapshot in time. They could fill out this wheel another 6 months from now and have a completely different answer, or even next week. And then it just becomes a good visual cue. Yeah. So Donna, I'm going to actually ask you if you can move to the next slide.
Yep.
This will help to illustrate it, right? So here we've got this person rating their family and friends at an 8, right? And you can see it's fairly full. There's room to grow. Where we get curious as coaches is like, what's in that gap? Yeah. What's in that 9-10 space that could be there? Right?
Do you have this? Yeah, there it is, a fuller one.
Yeah.
So if I saw a client with this type of this type of view here, I'm going to look at, what areas do we want to explore? Obviously, might be room for health. We can have a conversation around fun and recreation or personal growth. And so we can go in each of these areas and explore more what's there.
And it's really important, I think, one of the things that felt really important when I was doing my training and as I learned about this is, it's not for me as coach to decide what the client needs to work on, quote unquote. If I was coming from a problem-solving lens, I might look at this and go, let's start at health, and then move to fun and I might make that assumption. Yeah. What I do, however, is I ask my clients, so as you look at this, where do you want to work? Because although they might feel and rate their health as sort of the lowest in terms of satisfaction, they might actually really want to work on the personal growth aspect, knowing that as they work on that, other things are going to shift. Every aspect of the wheel impacts another aspect.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'm excited to get you into a demo.
Let's do it. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to invite our demo client up to the stage, quote unquote. And as I say, I've not met this individual before. I'm looking forward to meeting them. And then we will demo what coaching looks like, coactive coaching. And so Charles, as my partner in this, can I please ask you to let me know when I hit 12 minutes?
Absolutely.
And then I
Absolutely.
will know that I've got a few more to wrap it up.
Where's our victim slash
Volunteer,
volunteer?
Darius
There he
is
is.
his name.
Okay.
Darius is
All right.
here.
Hi there. Can you
12
see me?
minutes.
I can. Thank you, Charles. Darius, I'm so excited to be with you. Thank you for volunteering.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm also excited.
Yeah, yay. Let's do a quick little mini design. Because you've agreed to this. I know you've met with folks ahead of time to get a sense of what this will look like. And I would like you and I to get aligned. So you've heard everything that we've said about coaching and what it is and what it isn't, and what you can expect from me. What requests do you have of me, if any, in order to feel comfortable in front of, however many people are watching?
Yeah. I think I naturally feel confident speaking in front of people, even if they're strangers. So I don't have any specific needs right now.
Okay.
If there's anything that makes me feel uncomfortable, I would raise it. But at this stage, I feel good the way it is.
Great.
If you feel you need to
Yeah.
intervene, make a comment or anything, you as a coach, I trust that you know what to do.
Beautiful. Okay, I appreciate that level of trust. And let me ask a couple of questions. I make up that you're sitting down.
Yes.
If we need to, are you able to stand? Do you wish to stand, or would you rather stay seated the whole time?
I'm comfortable sitting right now, and
Okay.
if I can also stand up.
Okay, perfect. And then the other question that may seem a little odd, but I feel like it's important given the where we're living in our world these days. So I am here as a woman of color, specifically from East India, living in Canada, all that. You appear white to me, and I'm wondering if there's anything about your lived experience and or your identity that you think might be important for me to know if I'm going to coach you on this wheel of life.
Not about my color or identity. I obviously have certain lived experiences that make me who I am, but there's nothing right now that I think I need to share with you in advance explicitly. Okay.
And so if something emerges as we're coaching, please know that you can name it, and we'll go there. And if you don't need to, then that's fine too. The only other thing I'll name, you have full permission to show up however you want. If emotions are present, go for it. If you want to use curse words, go for it. Like, I'm fine. You get to be 100% you, and I will meet you where you're at. Okay.
Nice.
So you had this wheel of life, as I understand it. You had a chance to look at it. Was there a particular area of the wheel that you wanted to work on?
Yes. There were two that stood out. If I only have to choose one, like it was career and significant others. But I would really like to focus on significant others, and I think it's love life. I'm not sure what the if that's the complete name for it.
Significant other romance, I think is how
romance. Sure, yeah.
Sure.
Do you want me to elaborate on what I'm?
Well, let's start here.
Yeah.
Let's start here. So, what did you rate it as?
I rate it as a 4.
Okay, all right. So not a 1, but room to enrich is what I hear when I hear 4. What does just so I can get clear, when you read significant other romance, what does that mean for you?
So something I want to add. For me, 4 just means insufficient.
Okay.
It's not good enough. It's not satisfying. In fact, it's even something that sometimes causes me stress and is draining. It's not in a green area. That's why I put a 4. Could have been a 3 so, but it's more important. It's just it's insufficient, like a grade in school.
Yeah.
It's not good enough.
Yeah, I get
And
in Canada, we have sort of like a not meeting expectations.
Yeah. Let's put it there. Yeah, like a D. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And your question was, what do I mean by significant others?
Yeah.
Specifically, I mean, I think of a sense of belonging to a community in a larger sense. It could be my neighbors, that could be my neighborhood, that could be my street where I know the name of the grocery shop guy, and it's just the frequency and quality of interactions with strangers and acts of kindness that I might engage with, and something I think that is an important background information for you. So I'm from Luxembourg. I haven't lived in my home country for the last 14 years.
Okay.
I have lived in 8 countries in the last 14 years. Always a great adventure, but it felt like a very transient experience. So always like I'm meeting people and I have friendship. I have wonderful friends all around the world.
Yeah.
I could not have met them only if I stayed in one place.
Right.
But I start to realize having friends online or that you meet once or twice every couple of years is not good enough. You need people in close proximity who are there for you and give you a sense that, okay, I am at this place and it feels like home. Essentially, I don't have a place that feels like home.
That's what I'm really getting is like for you. So 2 things. I just want to drill this down to make sure I'm hearing this accurately. When you look at this wedge called significant other / romance, it's not about a single individual. It's actually about a community. And the thing that's missing is like depth and connection.
Yes, you can say that. I want to add to this. I will move back to my home country, Luxembourg, in January. It was a very conscious decision of mine. I wanted to give my home country a chance. I have a new perspective. I see Luxembourg differently than 14 years ago. I really want to give it a try. I really want to give it a chance. I have a job offer already, so that's good. Like, and I have I already have like a list of things to do. Like, I will join an ultimate frisbee club, a corps. I have lots of hobbies. That's great.
Yeah.
But I feel still it has like a very individualistic touch to it. Like I'm just doing things for myself that I need to do to be happy. But I also want it to be something where I share something with others. And it's not just I go to this event, then I do that hobby, and then because you still end up going home and being lonely.
Yeah. So 2 things. Here's what I'm going to name. And so this is a thing in coaching, right? Is like, if we were meeting for coffee, you and I as friends, I probably wouldn't interrupt you here. I'll let you keep going. And in coaching, I'm here in service of you. And so I want to intrude. That's a coaching skill that I want to name. And I want to like bottom line here for you is like, there's a way that you are so longing for depth and connection that you're actually already starting to create plans, and you're aware that it needs to be more than just about you as an individual doing something. Yeah. So I want to invite you to stand for a minute. Will you do that?
Sure.
You can always say no.
No, it's okay.
Okay. So
I don't know if you can see me well. But...
Yes, I can see you and I can hear you, which is great. So imagine that where you are right now is this place called 4. With respect to significant other romance, you're at a 4 and you've described it so well. I hear it as, you got people, you don't feel connected, you are longing for more. I'm going to ask you to do something very strange. I want you to imagine that you're on a continuum. The left side goes down to 1 and the right side goes all the way to 10. Okay? You're at 4. I want to invite you to step back to 2. It might be different from where I'm going. Yeah, so you just step back to 2. So you've gone backwards. It's like it's even less than it was at 4. What's it like to be at a 2 on significant other romance?
Terrible.
Say it again.
Terrible.
Terrible. In what way? Say a little more.
Disappointment that my fear of going back to Luxembourg and still being stuck in the same patterns that I remember from high school.
Yeah.
The memories of loneliness, they're still there. And I feel I have no clear idea of what I need to do to improve it. I feel powerless.
So there's powerless here. So not only like lacking in depth and connection, but also a lack of power here. There's nothing you can do about it.
A lack of initiative.
Yeah,
normalizing it.
Okay.
I'll tell myself, well, I guess everybody is lonely.
Sure.
So nothing I can do about it.
Right.
Just
okay. Step back to 4. Step back to 4 where you started. And you can feel the difference, yeah?
Yeah.
4 is where you started. There's lack of depth, lack of connection. And there's a bit of like, you have some control over it here. What number do you want to go to? Between here and 10.
A 7.
A 7. Step over to 7. Okay. So you're here in 7. 7 when it comes to significant other and romance. What is here? What's different? Like, how does your body feel at 7 when it comes to significant other romance?
It's hard.
Yeah, take your brain out of it. Notice what your body feels.
When my body feels, I laugh a lot. I'm smoothing my interactions with people. It's natural. I can be myself.
Yeah.
I don't feel tense.
Wow.
Also, I feel loved. I do imagine a life partner on my side, or at least someone who I can share intimacy with.
Yeah. Yeah. So life partner, laughing, intimacy. You did not use this word, but I'm going to throw it out here because it's sort of what I heard in the undertone. There's like an authenticity that's available to you here that isn't there at 4, like a way that you show up just trusting who you are. Does that feel true? Thanks, Charles.
I feel at a 7, I feel more accepted the way I am, and I don't need to justify me for my decisions. Yeah. And it's okay that I'm not Darius, who people remember from 14 years ago. I'm different, and I want people to acknowledge that. Yeah.
Come grab a seat, if you wish. If you want to stay standing, you can. I'm going to sit.
I prefer.
There you go. Thanks for playing in there. Here's what I just heard you say. When you're living life in such a way that that wedge of significant other romance is at a 7, you actually get to step into Darius now rather than holding on to Darius from 14 years ago. You get to be you, Darius. Here's what's it like for you to hear me say that? Like, I just noticed you did this. What happened?
I think there could just be, if it just was a proper coaching session, there would be like far more relevant information, perhaps in my family, that I would throw at you. But obviously, I know this is a bit of a situation, but
yeah.
I don't have parents. I lost both my parents in the last couple of years due to illness, unfortunately. And I still have a sister back in Luxembourg, and I've got 2 nieces. I have a bit of a, maybe like a bit of an internalized sense of responsibility of being an uncle. Like, I really want to be a good uncle for my nieces, and that's just okay the way it is. My sister and I were very different, and my sister is someone who I both love and respect, but also I have almost something like fear from her, because she's a bit like the remnant of expectations that is left in my family. I feel very afraid of being judged, and I notice whenever I'm in her presence, I start to justify myself much more, say sorry much more, be much more careful about what I say.
I make up that in her presence, there's a way that you shrink.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Crazy, actually. Yeah, a lot.
So I'm aware of time. So to use your language, proper coaching, like we would have a little longer to dive.
Yeah.
And I do want to leave you with something meaningful. I'm going to throw something out there. You tell me if you'll take it up as something to work on. Okay. The first thing is what we call an inquiry. This is a question that you just get to mull over, right? And the question is some version of, what is Darius fully expressed? I just saw you smile. Will you take that question on?
Yeah.
You get to just consider it. You don't have to come up with an answer right away. You get to, like, soak in the tub, or like take a shower, or like go for a walk, and just like, what is Darius fully expressed? And then my invitation to you, as you move into 2024, is that you consciously turn up the dial on you, even if it's just like by one notch, in little scenarios. So maybe it's when you go to the grocery store, or maybe it's when you are doing laundry. It's like, what if this were at a 7 or even a 5? What would be different? And just sort of play a little bit. Permission to play. Will you do that? Yay.
Yeah, that's good.
Good.
Yeah.
Yay.
Sense.
Yeah. I know I've only just met you. Like, I've never seen you before. We're not connected anywhere. I have no idea. And yet in this short 12-15 minute span, here's what I get, is that you fully expressed is so much more powerful than you shrunk. Like, you're powerful as you sit in front of me, and I get that this is a 4. And so I can only imagine how richer your life would be, and the lives of the folks around you, if they got to see you at a 7.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, Darius. Thank you for willing to be vulnerable in front of everybody, and for letting me play with you. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna.
But before you go away, Darius, before we go away, anybody who's watching and listening, throw up some words for Darius.
Yeah.
Throw up some acknowledgements. Throw up some championing for Darius.
Some words in the chat so Darius can see what y'all saw.
Thank you all. Thank you all for your kind words.
Take it all in, Darius. That's what they saw.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, someone's in Luxembourg for you.
There you go.
Really?
Yes. There you go.
There you go. There you go. You're building community already.
Okay.
So soak it up. Soak it up. There may be a tendency to be like, oh, that's nice of you. Just, flip it off and just notice. These are also folks who have seen what I saw. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's take a look at what we saw there. Let's debrief the coaching.
Yeah.
This is also a time for you to throw some questions in the Q&A area, but also throw up what skills did you see Gail use, and maybe throw those into chat. What skills did you see Gail use as a coach in that moment?
Using whatever words you want. Yeah, intuition.
Absolutely. There's a lot of intuition. Yes.
Listening, intrude. Yeah.
Yeah.
Empathy, presence. Yeah.
the body and the embodiment piece.
Yep.
Yes, good ones. Right. We got some expert coaches in the room.
Right? Yeah, active listening. And one of the things we distinguish in coactive land, I'm not going to go too deeply into it here, but that there's 3 levels of listening. Level 1, 2, 3. Level 1 is where I'm all about me as coach. Not particularly helpful. Level 2 is where I'm laser focused on whoever's in front of me, in this case, Darius. And level 3 is like, I've got this soft focus on what's happening in the space as well. That's the space where, I noticed the tiny shifts in Darius's body expression or even his facial expression and named them.
Yeah. And that's part of what we call also articulating what's going on. Like, what am I witnessing in my client that if I said it would have an impact on them? So a number of times, Gail, you mentioned how he was, his expression, what words was he using, his body language. Yeah, we use as articulating what's going on.
A couple times where I said what I thought I heard that wasn't said, right? Like, you didn't use these words, but here's what I heard. And so the other skill is non-attachment, right? I'm not attached to it. I put it out there. Darius gets to say yes, that, or no, not that, and go from there.
It's like you offer it.
Yeah.
You just offered your intuition to them unattached. Yeah. What did you see Gail do in the beginning of the coaching? How did she set up the coaching with Darius? Did you notice what she did? Because in the coactive space, yes, thank you, Stephen. In coactive coaching, what's very important is to set up the context for the coaching, and we call that design alliance.
Yeah,
exactly. In that area, and that's part is for the coach to share what's coaching for them and what they're going to bring into coaching, but also gives the client an opportunity to share what did they need out of the coaching. What do they want to get out of the coaching? How do they want to experience Gail in this case? Right.
And the thing about the designed alliance, Charles, that I think is so important to underscore, there can be a way that new coaches think that designing the alliance is something that happens at the beginning of a relationship. So, you mentioned the foundation session, right? Like, we do it when we start our relationship. What I always want to underscore is that designed alliance, yes, it happens at the beginning, and it's an open document, so to speak. It gets to happen all along. So even 5 sessions in, I might say to my client or my coachee, hey, here's something that I want to redesign with how we work together. Or they might say to me, you know what, Gail, I've been thinking about it and I really need you to bring this to the coaching. And we get to redesign.
Yeah, absolutely. And you actually might even redesign it inside the session too. You might be able to push a client to a new level that they didn't expect to when they actually designed the alliance with you. It's like, oh no, I can actually go further. Exactly.
Yeah.
What else do we have in the chat there?
We got all sorts of things coming in. We got a couple questions which we'll save for the Q&A at the end. What did you see me do when it came to actually looking at the wheel? What did you see me sort of name or help Darius tease out?
Yeah, that's a very important thing here. We don't know what when the client uses a particular word or identifies an area of the wheel, we don't know what their meaning is or how they perceive that. So it's a very important question to ask a client. It's like, what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
And you see, when he actually mentioned significant other, it meant a lot of things, including community. And
there was a way that Darius, on the wedge, it's significant other / romance, and Darius included like possibly a partner, and he expanded significant other to significant others. Right? This was all about community for him. This was not about romance exclusively. And so that was really important.
A couple of things I wanted to point out in Gail's coaching, and we use these as skills too, was we talked about intrusion, bottom lining, we talked about articulating what's going on, but Gail also asked permission. especially if she knew something might have been a bit challenging or tricky for Darius. She asked permission to say, Darius, do you think you could stand up for me and try something? This might be uncomfortable for you, but would you try it with me? That's asking for permission.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There was a question in the chat, and I this feels like a great place to answer it around standing up. I asked permission. I also asked like capacity. Do you have the capacity to stand up? It's not that standing is a requirement for coaching. And in Coactive, we believe in the power of the embodied experience. One of our other cornerstones is that we coach the whole person. It's not just an intellectual exercise. It's what is happening in all of you. And this is true regardless of someone's physical capacity. So even if Darius was unable to stand for any reason, whether that's a physical ability thing, or he was tethered to his computer with a wire or whatever, there are other ways to, like, what are you noticing in your body? What's the visceral answer here, as opposed to the intellectual one?
Absolutely. I'm just looking at time here. I would love to take any questions. If you have any questions, throw them in the QA, and I would be more than happy to answer them. But we'll just keep riffing on the debrief. But let's get some questions in there that you're burning to ask us.
Yeah. Tina, I see your question, and I'm not sure I understand it. Is there another way for you to ask it? If so, see if you can pop that in the chat. Yeah. What other questions do folks have?
Yes, of course. 3 levels of listening. So we in Coactive talk about these 3 levels of listening, and why it's as important is for us as coaches to recognize where we're conscious, right? There's level 1, which is the stuff that happens in the brain. Like, what am I saying to myself? Right?
So I might be here listening to Charles, but what I'm actually noticing is my brain going, gosh, why is he even saying that right now? That's not where I would go. I don't understand why he's doing that. I'm not saying this is what's happening for me, but this might be, right? And if I'm very aware of that, then I'm not actually present to my client.
No, or I might be thinking, okay, I need a coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
But level 2 is hyper focused on my client.
Yeah.
Right. I'm listening intently to every word they're saying, how they're saying it, what kind of language are they using, what are their physical expressions, what are they not saying? Like, I'm really focused, hyper focused on my client.
Yeah. And then level 3 is, again, where levels 1 and 2 have got like a laser sort of aspect to them. Level 3 has got this softness. It's like, it's almost, it's an energetic thing. It's like, what's in quote unquote the field, what I might be intuiting versus what's actually anything concrete. And it's really important to know that there's nothing wrong with any of the levels. They are all important. They all serve. And my client, I often say to my clients, you better be hanging out in level 1 because it is all about you. And I want you to be in level 1. Not worrying about what I'm thinking or what have you.
Good.
As a coach, level 2, level 3 is more effective.
I'm seeing a number of things popping in the Q&A. Awesome. So I've got one from Samuel. Can you share when you would choose to intrude and when you shouldn't?
Yeah, love it. So, Charles, I would love your answer on this, and then I'll pop in.
So most often I intrude when there's a lot of storytelling. Yeah. There's a lot of facts and figures. There's a lot of tangents. There's a lot of plot lines, and like the story's going all over the place. And I'm going to intrude there because it's not about the story. Yeah. It's about, why is the story important? Yeah. Right? When I wouldn't use intrusion is if there's a lot of deep felt emotions happening. I wouldn't want to interrupt the emotional experience.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautifully said.
Yeah.
And notice this was actually a moment that I trained my client a little bit to say, like, ordinarily, if I were having coffee with Charles out at a coffee shop and he was giving me the whole story, I probably wouldn't intrude. It's, in polite conversation, it's not what we do. Coaching, however, is not a polite conversation. At least it better not be. It's actually about challenging and pushing and inviting. And so intruding for the sake of the client's growth and awareness. They're used to their story. They've told it probably 50 million times.
Yeah.
They're just telling it again. So intrusion is to get them to stop the story and like get curious with whatever question is needed next.
Exactly. Randy asked, what is bottom lining again? And I might have missed that term. I think he's looking for what bottom lining is.
Yeah. Bottom lining. My client, so I'm trying to think, I know I used it with Darius. They're saying whatever. In this case, he was talking about what this wedge significant other romance meant. And he gave me quite a good description. And I was like, okay, so bottom line, this is about connection and depth, right? It's like, distill it.
It's getting to the essence of it.
Exactly. I can do it as coach. I can also ask my client to do it. So client, give me the bottom line. 5 words or less.
Yeah. I like throwing, okay, you gave me this long plot, this long story. If you could give me the headline, what would the title of that, what would that headline, what would the banner be for this big long story?
Yeah.
You know,
the billboard version.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's how I would use bottom line.
Yeah. Areas of work that we dig deeper into beyond fundamentals. Yeah. So fundamentals is the first course. As you can imagine, it's quite a buffet, as you will, of all the things. So you get a little sampling of everything. And then we dive deeper into the next 3 courses, which are fulfillment. So this is a principle of coactive coaching. We dive into fulfillment, and then balance, another principle, and then process. And they each provide a different window into coaching, a different way to be. And then the final course, synergy, is where we expand your range as coach, because the best coaching happens when coaches show up knowing that they've got a full range of piano keys that they can work with, so to speak. And so it's about growing you as a coach. So then you put it all together, and you as fully expanded coach working with these principles is how magic gets created.
So I just want to just throw a little sauce on the principles piece for a bit.
Yeah.
Like when we talk about fulfillment, we talk about, what does the client want?
Yeah.
What do they want? What are their dreams or aspirations? When we talk about balance, we're coming from a place of choice and perspective, right? And when we talk about process, we're talking about having the client have a lived experience right now. What are they present to? And in each of these courses, we are unpacking new skills or reusing different skills in different contexts. Things like powerful questions and listening, all those things are skills. And we use them in the context of those principles.
And so Alexandra and Agatha, you both have variations, or at least I'm reading them as variations of the same question. Yeah, at the end, again, we're partnering with our client. Partnering doesn't mean that I can't offer, right? And I'm not imposing. So notice that I said to Darius, here's what I want to invite you to do. Here's a question I would invite you to consider. Will you take that on? What I didn't say to Darius, and in a more formalized coaching, I would clearly name, you can say yes, no, or counter offer. You can also offer something completely different. And there have been times where I've said to my client, what do you want to work on? Like, it doesn't have to come from me. It was just sort of where my gut
it's enough offer. Yeah. And in that case, Gail, you offered him an inquiry.
Yeah.
And you offered him something to do about it.
Yeah.
Right. And those are just offers. The client doesn't have to do anything, but it's for their good that, if they were to take it on, it would enhance their coaching experience.
Yeah.
So Aubrey, could you name 2 or 3 good exercises for listening with intent for a group? I'm not sure about for a group, but and I think it was mentioned in the list there, one of the things I practice when it comes to listening is being able to mirror back or articulating what I'm hearing from the client. That way I know I'm listening and connecting with them, right? Plus also how I use powerful questions. I hyperlink my powerful questions to the things that they're talking about. So in case of Darius, he's talking about connection and love and family. What I would create powerful questions around those words. Because clearly they're important to him. And it reflects back to Darius that I'm actually listening for those keywords. Those are some of the ways I would actually, practice powerful. How about for you, Gail?
Yeah, very much the same, and also applicable in a group, right? So when I am present with a group or an individual, it's making sure that I'm staying out of my head, which can be a very rich, confusing place, and staying right over there. And that hyperlink point that you make is such an important one, right? Because one of the mistakes I see new coaches making, and certainly I made it, is thinking that I got to get clever about this and I got to figure out the next question. And it's like, if I'm staying with my client and I'm following what they say, then wherever they land, I get to say, so what's important about that word? And it's something they haven't explored yet, in all likelihood.
Right. We have a question here. Would your foundation, I guess the fundamentals course, allow you to coach someone properly without getting full-on qualification?
So yes, because it'll give you a little bit of everything. It won't have any depth. That's such poor languaging on my part. It won't have the depth that you would get further going on, and you will get a little bit of it for sure. You'll absolutely know how to coach. You will. And odds are you're going to want more depth than that.
The foundation, the fundamentals course gives you a breadth of the coaching skills to coach effectively. By doing the other courses and getting your certification gives you far more practice, depth, rigor, experience, even feedback on how well you actually are using those skills. But fundamentals, absolutely, you can walk away with all those skills and actually apply them. But going through the program and getting certification gives you much more level of mastery of those skills.
That's it. That well put. For sure.
Okay.
I think
minutes left for Q&A.
Any more questions? Just throw them out there. We have one. Is it Alexandra? Did we answer this? In a longer session, would you explore and collaborate more on the next step? Look, this was a short demo. Right, this was a short demo. Typically what we have is in our when we teach coaching, we talk about as an arc in the side of the coaching. We have this 10-80-10 roadmap, what we call the coaching roadmap. The first 10% of your coaching is exploring the topic. The next 80% is really building resonance around the topic, understanding the topic in a more deep and compelling, resonant way. And the last 10 is exploring, okay, what can we do with this now? What can we do with this new information or insight? And we can co-create with our client what they want to do as their quote unquote next steps. So we might leave them with an inquiry, a powerful question that they can reflect on. Or we might leave them with a challenge or a request, something that they would stretch them, make maybe uncomfortable for a bit or whatever it is. But in that also some accountability. How would they want to hold themselves accountable for that? So that may or may not be the coach. It might be somebody else in their life. But they want to take that new insight and apply it to something. So that last 10 will usually they'll brainstorm on some ideas how they're going to take this new learning and bringing it out into the world.
Thank you all for being here today. So grateful and excited for whatever's next for you. Hopefully there was something of value that you can take with you and apply.
Yes. And thank you, Gail, for playing with me. And thank you, Darius, for your for volunteering and being an awesome client.
Yes. Much gratitude to everyone. Delightful. Right. We shall see you around the metaphorical water cooler somewhere.